Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the India Today conclave. This conclave is being held on the eve of the big general elections. In fact, we've just learned that general elections will be formally announced tomorrow at 3 p.m. So we will have the model code of conduct starting tomorrow, and the big story, of course, will be who will win the elections. Now, most pundits are predicting that it is the BJP and Prime Minister Modi who will complete a hat-trick of victories. So where does that leave the principal opposition party, the Indian National Congress? To answer that question, I'm joined by a very special guest. Please welcome the former Union Finance and Home Minister, Member of Parliament and the head of the Congress's Manifesto Committee, Mr. P. Chidambaram. Mr. Chidambaram, our session is titled, Does the Congress Still Matter, or Does the Congress Matter? Because many believe that 2024 is a done deal. How do you respond to those in this audience and indeed across the country who believe that 2024 is a done deal? The Congress really doesn't have a chance. Prime Minister Modi will complete a hat-trick.
Well, if it's a done deal, you should recommend no elections then. People have to vote. I can't speak for the whole country, but I think there are places where the Congress will win. Whether it'll be enough to form a government, I cannot say. But let's assume that Mr. Modi's party, the BJP, gets the majority. They will form the government and we will be in the opposition. But opposition also matters in a democracy, isn't it?
The opposition does matter, but I'll tell you, and I'm going to put up a graphic to tell you why there is skepticism about whether the opposition can mount a challenge. I'm just putting, and to my mind, of all the various numbers, this is the most significant number that represents how Indian politics has changed in the last decade. It will reflect how things have changed in terms of votes between 2009 and 19. Take a look at Lok Sabha numbers between the two major political parties, the BJP and the Congress. If these as these numbers show, Mr. Chidambaram, the BJP's votes in 2009 were 7.8 crores. That's not rupees, that's voters, guys. It's gone up to 22.9. 22.9 crore people voted for the BJP from 7.8 crores in 2009. Congress votes have gone from 2009, 11.9 crores when you won that election with 200 odd seats, and you're still stuck at 11.94 crores. So the feeling is the BJP has grown exponentially, the Congress is where it is, even though the number of people voting in this country has also gone up. So your response? That's where my skepticism comes from.
In the lighter vein, these numbers could be right for rupees also. I think, anyway, yes, the BJP has been able to attract more votes, which is why it wins. Well, that's a no-brainer. Question is, can the Congress recover and win more votes? As I said, the position is different in different states. I think we can win more than last time in Telangana, in Karnataka, in Haryana. We can win. But in the North Indian states, the Hindi-speaking North Indian states, I cannot make any prediction, but they all seem to be swayed by the Ram temple and the fervor about Lord Ram. And coming from Tamil Nadu, I'm not able to think on that wavelength, but I can speak for the South, and in particular, I can speak for Tamil Nadu.
No, you seem to suggest there's a north-south divide.
Did I say that?
No, effectively you're saying, speaking from Tamil Nadu, I'm not able to understand how the Hindi heartland votes.
Yes. I cannot understand. That's my fault or my failure. Maybe you understand it better.
We had Nirmala Sitharaman at the conclave sitting where you were, and she said 2/3 is because of what Mr. Modi has done, and 1/3 is because the opposition has no narrative apart from anti-Modism. You've not been able to provide the country a compelling narrative as to why they should move away from the BJP and vote for the Congress.
Because the Honorable Finance Minister turns a blind eye to facts. The facts are, the Oxfam January 2024 report says 50% of the population holds 3% of the national assets and shares 13% of the national income. According to the government, only 5% of India are poor. I'm surprised. Why did they not claim 0% are poor? The point is, if you turn your blind eye to the fact that there is massive poverty at the bottom of the pyramid, that among graduates, the unemployment rate is 42%, that among children, the number of stunted children and wasted children is about 30%. In education, 8th standard child cannot read a 2nd standard text. That's the average for the whole India. If you turn a blind eye to all these facts, you will, of course, say, God is in his heaven and all's well with the world.
No, the politicians may turn a blind eye. We don't in the media, or some of us don't in the media. And I'll give you, where your problem is. Our India Today Mood of the Nation poll said 71% of Indians feel that unemployment is either a serious issue or somewhat serious. Yet when those same people were asked, who will you vote for? They said, we'll vote for Prime Minister Modi and the BJP. So the point, sir, is you were in power for most of the last 7 decades. People are saying, okay, there may be problems, but we seem to trust Prime Minister Modi and the BJP more than the Congress, which was tried and tested. Is that your problem?
No, that's your interpretation. I'm saying when there's massive unemployment, significant poverty, and huge gaps in education and healthcare, if the people are not voting against an incumbent government, it must be for some other reason. The some other reason, I think, is the Hindutva wave that seems to be sweeping Hindi-speaking northern states. I don't blame anyone. I don't criticize anyone. I'm stating a fact as I see it. If that is a fact, and if the Hindutva wave is sweeping across Hindi-speaking northern India and people are swayed by that, well, they will vote accordingly, and the country will have a government, but you will have these problems unattended, unaddressed, and people will suffer.
So you're saying it's a Hindutva wave that you think could be the reason for the BJP's rise. There will be those who will say Lok Sabha elections in particular in this country have become quasi-presidential. Voters want to know who is my leader. And then when they make the election Modi versus Rahul, or Namdar versus Kamdar, or Kamdar versus Namdar, that's where you lose out. Again, Nirmala Sitharaman says, Rahul Gandhi is scurrying around the country, one day Bharat Jodo Yatra, one day Bharat Nyaya Yatra. What does it mean in tangible terms? And then they compare it with Mr. Modi, and it becomes a no contest is what she suggests. That's the problem, not just Hindutva. The opposition has an opportunity. You need better leadership, more credible leadership before people trust you.
Now, you're moving away to another subject now.
No, I'm not.
We are asking, why are people voting in a particular manner?
Yes.
Why do you think people are expected to vote in a particular manner despite unemployment and poverty? And I gave you my answer. I think despite massive unemployment and significant poverty, if people are voting, It must be because they are motivated by some other factor. And that factor, in my view, is Hindutva factor.
So you don't think it's about leadership? You don't think it's about leadership?
We'll come to that. It is about leadership. But the leader is seen as the principal protagonist of Hindutva. If you can't de-link the leader from the wave that seems to be sweeping across the country. The leader is identified as the principal protagonist of Hindutva. So if people are voting for Hindutva, they will naturally vote for Mr. Modi.
Mr. Chidambaram, on the other hand, people want to know what your party now stands for. You mentioned the unemployment crisis. You mentioned that poverty at the bottom of the pyramid is much deeper than many people imagine. What is your solution to it? For example, I see these Nyay promises you've made. The right to apprenticeship. 1 lakh stipend will be provided to every diploma or undergraduate holder below the age of 25. You talk about 1 lakh to a woman in every poor family will be given. Have numbers been calculated? Are you in any position to provide this? According to, again, dare I say, the government says none of this is actually empowering people. All these rights are in abstract. They don't actually empower people. The BJP, according to them, is empowering people by putting cash in hand and actually providing people tangible benefits.
If they put cash in the hands, it is cash in the hand. If we promise an apprentice 1 lakh a year, that's not cash in the hand. Don't apply these different standards. Let's take one by one.
They say they are empowering people by through the Vishwakarma scheme, for example, providing people the body blocks for them to actually reach up to an aspirational India. You're talking of a povertarian India, they talk of an aspirational India.
Listen, you can dress it up with words, and you are a wordsmith. That's not the issue. The issue is, if 1 lakh young people are put through a 1-year apprenticeship program, is that not empowerment? Is that not putting money in the hands of an unemployed graduate? 42% is the unemployment rate among graduates. You saw that police constable examination. Police constable examination, 60 lakh people applied, 48 lakh wrote the examination. Every railway station, every bus stand was crowded. They had to run special buses, special trains, and 2 days after the examination, they cancelled the examination.
So, but one of the highest one of the highest unemployment rates in recent times has been in Congress-ruled Rajasthan. The point is, you've got to put up a model state. If you say the BJP is doing A, B, C wrong, you've got to either create a model state where you're ruling or show what you will do to ensure that next time a constable exam is held, you won't have lakhs of people applying.
That is what we are saying. Wait for our manifesto. You picked out 2 points of the manifesto. I will defend those 2 points. Those 2 points are perfectly valid. The apprenticeship is a good idea. There's an apprenticeship act. It's an anemic act, a toothless act. We're going to strengthen that. 45,000 companies have joined the apprenticeship program today. There are 10 lakh companies which can afford to have an apprentice, obliged to have an apprentice. From 45,000 to 10 lakh. If 10 lakh companies, 1/10 of them, 1 lakh companies take 1 apprenticeship each, 1 apprentice each, that is 1 lakh graduates will be through the apprenticeship program. What's wrong with that? What's your criticism of that program?
The question therefore...
What is your criticism of that program?
Sir, my question, it is not for me to criticize the people of this country.
You did just now.
People of this country are judging you by your agenda. You recall 2019, before the election, the Congress came up and said they would bring up minimum income scheme.
Yes.
Right? That time's Nyay program. You ended up with 52 seats. Now you're talking about the 5 Nyays that you're going to give the people. Again, we don't know where it will end up. But the question is it then a problem of communication? If you believe these schemes are so good, why is it that the people of this country are not endorsing your party? Is there a disjunction between what you say and what the voter behavior is?
You are applying wrong measures to assess a program. I'm here to defend the worth of the program. If people do not vote for us, it's not because they are for or against that program. There are 100 thoughts that race through a voter's mind when he or she enters a voting booth. What finally impels a voter to vote for one party or against another party does not depend upon one promise or one manifesto point. There are 100 other things. Therefore, you are asking me the validity of a promise, and I'm ready to defend the validity of that promise. But why a voter does not vote for the Congress is dependent upon a number of other factors.
Is it that Mr. Modi has captured the zeitgeist, if I may use the word, of New India? That the Congress is seen to represent the old India, an India of Parivarvad, an India which is seen to, in some way you are still pigeonholed as a party tainted with corruption and scams. And Mr. Modi, on the other hand, claims, I'm cleaning up the system, na khane dunga, na khaunga, na khane dunga. And the younger voters in this new India finds his rhetoric, if I may use the word rhetoric, far more attractive than that of the Congress's older India.
I think you are listening to too many Modi speeches. You are speaking the language of Mr. Modi. Now let's take Parivarvad. Who are his allies in the last election and this election? Every one of his allies, to use his words, not my words, is a dynast. Akali Dal, JJP, INLD, RLD in Uttar Pradesh, Mr. Jain Chowdhury, now his new ally, TDP, Mr. Naveen Patnaik in Orissa. Everybody's a dynast. Why don't you ask him? If you are against Parivarvad, why are every one of your allies a dynast? You won't get an opportunity to ask him because he won't sit in this chair. You will not be allowed anywhere 10 feet of the Prime Minister. But please ask him this question. Therefore, don't listen to too many of Mr. Modi's speeches. Listen to some other speeches also. What is the other thing you said? Zeitgeist or something.
Zeitgeist, these sort of energies of
German
words. Z-E-I.
I'm not surprised that they look to Germany, Russia, China, Turkey, Iran as examples. No. All these countries have turned their constitution upside down. And please read my column on Sunday. I'm afraid a third term for the BJP with a two-third majority will lead to major amendments on the constitution, which you will regret and I will regret. And this audience will regret.
You're saying that we are turning to, if Mr. Modi wins again, India is moving towards an electoral autocracy. Is that what you're saying?
It is already some shades of an electoral autocracy. That's how the VDem Institute describes India's democracy. But if Mr. Modi wins a third term, you can be assured, and you can note the date and the day and the time, major amendments to the Constitution will be made. Let the Prime Minister say, I will not make any amendments to the Constitution which interferes with the federal structure of this country. Let the BJP say that. They will not say that because they have planned to amend the Constitution. And the forerunner of that is this one nation, one election. Well, how is this democratic? Tamil Nadu will go into a state election in 2026. And the assembly elected in 2026 will have only a 3-year term. under Mr. Kovind's report, former President Kovind's report. So we will elect terms, we'll elect assemblies with 2-year term, 3-year term, 1.5-year term. What is this democracy?
Since you're raising questions over democracy, one of the big stories at the moment is electoral bonds.
Yes.
14 of the top 30 companies who've given donations through electoral bonds are companies that at some stage or the other in recent times have been raided or investigated by the enforcement agencies. When we asked this question to Nirmala Sitharaman, she said these are your assumptions that there is a protection being offered, and that's how any connection is being built between raids and donations given. What's your view? Since you are, many believe, the architect of the Prevention of Money Laundering Act. Mr. Chidambaram initiates it, the BJP implements it.
The point is, India today, a famous channel and the most celebrated anchor, doesn't read the facts.
No,
I'll tell you answer.
Yes,
PMLA is a 2002 act.
Yes.
2002, who was finance minister?
Implemented by you,
Just
notified in 2005.
Allow me to complete.
Yes, sir.
I'm asking you one question. You don't have an answer. I'll ask you two more. Who was the finance minister and who was the prime minister and which was the law, who was the government in 2002? One. Second, when did the act receive the assent of the president? In 2003. FATF asked the government, the act has been passed, president has assented, why are you not implementing the act? If you don't implement that, we will have to ask you to withdraw from FATF. We came into office in 2004. The tremendous pressure from FATF, you have passed a law, you have to implement it, otherwise you'll have to withdraw from FATF. So, in 2005, I made 2 significant amendments to the Act and implemented it. But nobody thought, not you, not I, not any lawyer, that you can weaponize a law. You weaponize a law, use it to tame or destroy political opponents, and the interpretation, of course, is another issue. We have a review petition. The Supreme Court bench has agreed to review the matter. Therefore, the interpretation made it worse.
But can I ask?
The law was passed by the BJP. The law was assented to in the BJP's time. We had no choice but to implement it. I made 2 significant amendments and implemented it. And the law has been weaponized. As long as we were in power, did we weaponize the law?
Sir, that is a contentious issue. Whether you misused or didn't misuse agencies, we can debate that separately.
You started PMLA.
Sir, may I just very quickly though ask you, just a minute. Number one, electoral bonds, according to you, therefore, and their links with enforcement agencies is the weaponization of those agencies. You're very clear about that.
I described electoral.
So give me a better system.
Give me
a better system for campaign financing.
The day the electoral bonds was introduced, I said it's legalized bribery. It's legalizing bribery.
You still maintain that?
I still maintain that.
What's the better system?
Better system is a multi-pronged system. One system is to allow more open campaigning. The Election Commission's restrictions have driven election campaigning underground.
Cash has gone underground.
Because they place too many restrictions. See, elections are a festival of democracy. It must have a lot of rhetoric, song, dance, speeches. They have restricted everything. Last time in Tamil Nadu, we were not allowed to take a road show. We were not allowed to fly flags. We were not allowed to paste posters in towns and municipalities. Therefore, the election has been driven underground. Bring back election over the ground. That's one. Second, allow a larger limit of expenditure for candidates. This is ridiculously low numbers. Nobody can win an election or fight an election by spending these ridiculously low amounts. To hire a car for a day To hire a car for a day in 1984, when I contested election, cost 300 rupees to 400 rupees. Today, to hire a car for a day will cost you 4,000 to 5,000 rupees. Third, state funding. There's a simple way to state fund. You take the 2024 election, take the 2019 vote share. Per vote, I give you 1 rupee. I'm giving an example. 1 rupee for every vote you got in 2019. The BJP will get more. It's entitled to get more because it won the election. So state funding on a purely neutral formula, every political party has to accept it. So state funding. And then revert to open, transparent donations to political parties where the donor will reflect it in his books of account or the company's books of account, and the political party has to reflect it in its annual financial statement. Okay. There's a multi-pronged approach.
You know, I'm sorry to sound...
Instead of that, you had an electoral bond which was devised in order to legalize bribery, and the ruling party will be the biggest beneficiary.
And I'm sorry to sound cynical, but much of this could have been implemented in the many years that you all were in power, especially state funding. But that's another debate for another day. I'm going to ask you, therefore, to wear your cephalogist hat every now and then when we do a program. Mr. Chidambaram, particularly when we are dealing with numbers on television, has his own numbers and analysis.
You tell me my numbers are wrong.
He's an amateur cephalogist. So I'm going to ask you, Mr. Chidambaram. 2014, Congress got 44 seats. 2019, you got 52 seats, including 8 from Tamil Nadu in alliance with the DMK. How much do you expect to get in 2024?
I can only speak about Tamil Nadu. I cannot speak about other states because I have not toured the other states. I'm not familiar with the situation of the ground. I can speak about Tamil Nadu, and last time we won Tamil Nadu and Puducherry. Out of 40 seats, we won 39. I'm confident we will repeat that result.
Okay. Therefore, I ask you again, are you accepting where we started off, the inevitability of a Modi hat-trick? Are you accepting the inevitability of a Modi hat-trick, Mr. Chidambaram? Or do you believe that picture abhi baki hai?
Nothing is inevitable. Where was your channel in 2004, when the India Shining campaign was raging all over India? Mr. Vajpayee was a good man, a moderate man, not given to extremes. He led the campaign, yet the Congress pipped him to the winning post by 8 seats.
Okay.
So nothing is inevitable. Did you think that a Trump-Biden rematch is inevitable? But we are having a Trump-Biden rematch as an inevitable contest. Okay. Nothing is inevitable, but I concede from the numbers you put out, I concede if the Hindi-speaking states vote in a particular manner, vote in a manner that they voted last time, we have a battle on our hand.
Okay.
And how the India alliance will cope with that battle is for the India alliance leaders to determine. But I can speak for Tamil Nadu. We will repeat the same result as in 2019.
Let me leave it there, Mr. Chidambaram. Whether this is a Modi shining moment, we will wait and see. Or whether the Congress can actually prove that reports of its death are grossly exaggerated, we will know in a few months from now. For now, for joining us, and as always being combative, thank you very much. Mr. P. Chidambaram.
Thank you.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.